You know those HOA stories that make you wonder if some people were just born to cause drama? Well, before I tell you how my HOA vice president broke into my pool and learned the hard way why you don't mess with an engineer who values peace, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment if you've ever had a Karen try to run your life. Trust me, by the end you'll be glad you did. It started on one of those sweltering summer evenings where the air itself feels like it's humming. The cicadas were screaming, sprinklers ticking somewhere down the block, and I was finally enjoying the quiet I'd worked so hard for. I just finished rebuilding my back deck, 12 weekends of sweat, splinters, and stubborn screws, and I was sitting by my pool sipping iced tea watching the lights ripple across the water. For the first time in months I felt like I could breathe. Then came the splash. At first I thought it was a raccoon again. We get them sometimes, little thieves who love to dunk themselves in the pool before raiding the trash cans. I grabbed a flashlight, walked toward the back gate, and that's when I froze. Because floating right there in the center of my pool was her, Karen Dempsey, the self-proclaimed queen of the homeowners association, sipping white wine from a stemless glass like she owned the place. "Evening, Ethan," she called, voice dripping with smug sweetness. "Hope you don't mind. It's so hot out and the community pool's just filthy lately." Mind. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth might crack. I told her 3 times already, my pool wasn't community property. It was on my deed, behind my fence, maintained by my own 2 hands. And yet here she was, lounging like Cleopatra, as if I should thank her for gracing my water with her presence. I forced a breath through my nose. "Karen, what are you doing in my pool?" She gave a lazy shrug. "Just cooling off." "Don't be so uptight, it's not like I'm hurting anything." That was Karen in a nutshell, breaking boundaries and then pretending you were unreasonable for noticing. She'd been a thorn in my side since the day I moved into Crestview Estates, a neighborhood that looked peaceful on the surface, but had a homeowners association with more power trips than an entire city council. When I first bought the house, a fixer-upper with a sun-cracked driveway and a sagging fence, I thought I'd found peace. I was an engineer by trade, a man who liked quiet routines and projects that didn't talk back. The house was a chance to build something with my own hands, to get away from deadlines and office noise. But peace doesn't survive long when your neighbor is Karen Dempsey. From day one, she treated me like an intruder in her kingdom. The first week, she knocked on my door holding a clipboard and a forced smile. "Hi. I'm Karen, your HOA vice president. Just wanted to welcome you, and remind you about our lawn maintenance schedule. We like our grass under 3 inches. The next week, a letter appeared in my mailbox. Notice of violation, paint color non-compliance. Apparently, my shade of gray wasn't community approved. Then came a complaint about my improper fencing style, even though it had been there since the previous owner. Every little thing I did was somehow an affront to her personal sense of suburban order. It wasn't about the rules. It was about control. And I really did, to stay polite. To reason with her. I'd greet her with a smile, keep my lawn trimmed like a golf course, and even attend a couple of HOA meetings just to show goodwill. But Karen didn't want cooperation, she wanted compliance. She wanted everyone beneath her perfectly polished shoe. Then came the HOA community pool party. Flyers went out to every mailbox, everyone but mine. A neighbor texted me, "Hey man, you coming to the pool party Saturday?" I texted back, "What pool?" That's when I learned Karen had reallocated funds to rent out the public pool 2 streets over, but she was calling it exclusive access for HOA members in good standing. I guess in her mind that didn't include me. I brushed it off, let the queen have her little castle. But a few days later I overheard something that changed everything. At the grocery store, 2 neighbors were whispering near the self-checkout. "Did you see Karen's Instagram last night? She said she had her own private pool now." I felt a sinking pit in my gut. When I got home I checked her page and there it was. A video. Her voice echoing through my backyard. "Isn't this divine?" she cooed. Finally, a proper pool for HOA leadership. Perks of responsibility, right? My pool. My deck. My water. That night, I found footprints on the wet tile, 2 wine glasses on the edge, and a trail of sunscreen floating in the skimmer. I should have been furious, but I was stunned. Who just breaks into someone's property and brags about it online? I went to her house the next morning. She opened the door wearing sunglasses and that same smug grin. "Karen," I said evenly, "you trespassed on my property last night." She blinked, feigning innocence. "Trespassed? Oh Ethan, don't be dramatic. HOA rules say community amenities are to be shared equally." "It's not a community amenity," I said. "It's mine. It's on my title." She smiled wider. Then maybe you should review the updated bylaws. We discussed them in the last meeting, you'd know if you ever showed up. It was pure manipulation. She was lying and we both knew it. I walked away, fists balled, hearing her call out after me, maybe if you were a little friendlier people wouldn't mind your attitude. I could have yelled. I could have called the police. But I didn't. Instead, I installed a new lock on the gate, checked my cameras and told myself she'd get bored eventually. She didn't. Over the next week, I found more signs, wet footprints again, the faint smell of chlorine mixed with her perfume, a pool float that definitely wasn't mine. Then came the HOA warnings. Noise violation. Unsafe decking. Unauthorized water feature. All signed by Karen herself. That's when I realized this wasn't random. She was targeting me, trying to make me either bend or break. The final straw came one muggy Thursday evening. I pulled into my driveway after a long day and heard laughter from the backyard. Through the fence slats, I saw a shape moving in the water. My floodlight clicked on, and there she was again. This time she wasn't even pretending to hide it. Her dog splashed beside her, a half-empty bottle of rose on the steps. I swung open the gate. Karen. She turned, completely unbothered. Ethan. I was just making sure the chlorine levels were safe. You wouldn't want the HOA to mark this as a health hazard. My jaw tightened. Get out. Now. Her smirk barely wavered. You wouldn't dare make a scene. Not with all your little violations hanging over your head. Something inside me shifted then. Maybe it was the way she looked at me, so certain she could twist reality and make me doubt my own rights. Or maybe I was just tired of people like her thinking rules only apply to everyone else. That night I didn't sleep. I sat by my desk, blueprints spread across the surface, every nerve buzzing with quiet, controlled anger. If logic didn't work, maybe something else would. She thought she owned this neighborhood. She thought she could trespass, lie, and humiliate without consequence. But she forgot one small detail: she was messing with an engineer. And I just decided to give her a lesson she'd never forget. By the time the sun rose, I had a plan. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Because Karen Dempsey was about to learn what happens when you break into the wrong man's pool. For the next few days, I worked quietly, methodically, letting Karen believe she'd won. She strutted around the neighborhood like a queen on parade, gossiping about how some people just can't handle community standards. I even saw her smirk when I waved one morning. She had no idea I was already building her downfall. One wire, one line of code, one perfectly timed humiliation at a time. I started by studying her patterns. Karen was predictable. She loved attention, validation, and any opportunity to show off. Her social media was a shrine to her ego. Morning walks, brunch photos, poolside selfies, each caption a tiny sermon about HOA excellence. If there was a camera nearby, she'd be there. And that gave me the angle I needed. I reprogrammed my pool system, something most people wouldn't even attempt. The old security system I'd built for my previous job was still installed, though dormant. Motion sensors, cameras, remote locking gates. I connected it all to a new central unit with a few upgrades. The sprinklers, the gate lock, even the floodlights. Then came my favorite addition, a harmless but unforgettable mix of pool dye that reacted to body oils and alcohol. I tested it carefully, it was perfectly safe. But anyone who took a dip would leave the water looking like they'd bathed in electric blue paint. To anyone else it was just a prank. To Karen it was poetic justice. I pretended to leave town that weekend, just to give her temptation room to grow. I even parked my truck 2 streets over and stayed inside, waiting. My cameras were rolling, every motion sensor armed. I didn't have to wait long. Around 9:47 p.m., motion alert. The back gate creaked. Through the live feed I saw her, Karen, wearing a silk cover-up and oversized sun hat, carrying a bottle of wine in one hand and her phone in the other. The camera mic caught her voice. "Welcome back, darlings. HOA Karen here, doing a little late-night luxury dip. Some perks just come with leadership, you know?" She winked at the camera on her phone, clearly live streaming. My jaw tightened. She wasn't even hiding it. Her arrogance was so thick you could taste it through the screen. She climbed down the steps, her reflection rippling on the dark surface. The moment she hit the water, the sensors triggered. Floodlights burst to life, casting the yard in a blinding white glare. The sprinklers kicked on, spraying the perimeter. And then, as if the universe itself had joined the joke, the dye activated, an explosion of neon blue swirling around her like an underwater storm. Karen's scream echoed through the night. What is this? What's happening?" She thrashed, looking around wildly, the dye clinging to her skin, her blonde hair turning turquoise under the lights. I pressed play on the pre-recorded message through the speaker system. Warning, my voice boomed, calm and professional. Unauthorized access detected. Please remain still while authorities are contacted. Karen screamed again, splashing toward the gate, only to find it locked tight. She shook it furiously. Open this right now. You can't do this. I'm the HOA vice president. I didn't respond. I just watched. From behind my blinds, the glow from the floodlights flickered against her panicked movements. She tried calling someone, but her phone slipped from her slick hands and splashed into the pool. A few porch lights flicked on around the neighborhood. Doors opened. People stepped out, murmuring, pointing. I heard laughter, confusion, then the distinct click of someone recording. The scene was too ridiculous not to capture. Karen Dempsey, drenched in blue, shrieking about bylaws while standing in someone else's pool at 10 o'clock at night. By the time I stepped outside, half the block was watching. I walked slowly, deliberately, as though I'd just discovered the chaos. Karen, I said, pretending surprise. What on earth are you doing in my pool? Her face twisted with outrage. Ethan, you set me up. This is harassment. I'll have you fined. Fined? I tilted my head. For trespassing on private property? Because that's what my cameras show you doing. Again. That's not. This is community space, she sputtered, wiping her blue-streaked face. The HOA owns this. I held up my phone. Actually, the county assessor's website disagrees. Title's still in my name. Oh, and look, your live stream's still running. I turned her own phone toward her, the screen showing hundreds of laughing comments scrolling by. Is she serious? One read. Smuff Queen of Crestview, another joked. Someone get her a towel and a reality check. Karen's mouth fell open. Her self-control shattered like glass. Turn that off, she shrieked, lunging for the phone. Too late. The neighbors had seen everything. Some were laughing, others filming, a few just shaking their heads. It was the kind of scene that lived forever on the internet, the downfall of a bully dressed up as slapstick comedy. The police arrived not long after, drawn by the commotion. I greeted them calmly, handed over the security footage, and explained the situation. Karen, still dripping blue, tried to spin her story. He trapped me. This was a setup. He rigged it all. The officer, barely suppressing a grin, asked, Ma'am, did you have permission to be here? Her silence was answer enough. They issued her a citation for trespassing and warned her that further incidents could result in arrest. As they escorted her home, her dyed footprints marked a trail of humiliation down the street. The next morning, the entire neighborhood knew. Karen's video had gone viral overnight, shared, clipped, memed, even auto-tuned. Someone titled it, The Smuff of Crestview Estates. The HOA chat was on fire with jokes, half the members laughing, the other half pretending not to. At the emergency meeting that week, she tried to defend herself, blaming me, claiming malicious entrapment. But the board wasn't buying it. The footage was too clear, the evidence too perfect. She was voted out of her position by a landslide. Her resignation letter came the next morning, typed, curt, and furious. As for me, peace returned at last. My mailbox stayed empty of violations, my lawn untouched by scrutiny, my pool sparkling in the sunlight. I even got a polite note from the HOA president, apologizing for the misunderstandings of the past. A few weeks later, I noticed a for sale sign go up in front of Karen's house. Word around the block was that she needed a change of scenery. No one argued. Sometimes when I sit by the pool at night, I can still see faint traces of blue on the tiles near the steps, a stubborn reminder of that night. It always makes me smile. Because in the end, it wasn't about revenge. It was about balance. Karen wanted control, to bend the rules until they only served her. She never realized that control without respect is just tyranny with better branding. And when tyrants fall, they make a splash loud enough for everyone to hear. As I leaned back in my chair, the water rippling under the soft glow of the lights, I raised my glass in a quiet toast to the calm that followed. Some people, I murmured, can't take a hint. Others need to swim in one first. And somewhere out there, I hoped Karen finally understood that when you dive into someone else's peace uninvited, you'd better be ready to face the deep end.